Everything that seemed calm on the set that day turned into a moment that made the entire room feel different. A moment that later became the subject of crew gossip, fan speculation, and endless analysis on various platforms. No one expected that a simple scene during project preparations would become a major highlight simply because of one small step, one intense gaze, and one meaningful silence from Hou Minghao to Lu Yuxiao. That moment, seemingly simple at first glance, left an indelible impression. Since morning, the atmosphere in the reading room had been quite busy. The actors arrived with scripts in hand. The staff bustled about preparing props, while the director checked the dialogue details. But something felt different when Hou Minghao stepped in. He usually brought a sense of calm, but this time that calm seemed to be overshadowed by an unusual assertiveness. His steps were steady, his gaze focused, and the expression on his face showed that he had come not just for rehearsal, but to do something more profound than that. On the side of the room, Lu Yuxiao sat reading her script intently. Her hair was tied back simply, her face natural, yet she still exuded an indescribable charm. Every time she furrowed her eyebrows or smiled slightly when she found a funny part in the script, some of the staff seemed to smile unconsciously. Her presence always brought a soft atmosphere, and perhaps that was what made the contrast with the moment that was about to happen even stronger. When Hou Minghao approached the reading table, no one expected him to walk straight towards Lu Yuxiao. Usually, he would greet the entire crew first, do some light warm-ups, or just joke around with the actors. But this time, he walked straight ahead, like someone who had set his goal from the start. The staff began to pay attention, some even pretending to be busy when their eyes were already fixed on the same spot. The two of them, Lu Yuxiao, who was reading, suddenly looked up when Hou Minghao's shadow fell right in front of him. There was a pause of 1 second that felt longer than it should have been. Their eyes met, and something indescribable appeared between their gazes. The energy was not that of co-workers greeting each other, nor was it the professional gaze between two actors. There was depth, there was challenge, there was something that Minghao seemed to want to convey without words. The courage that radiated from his face at that moment made the atmosphere around them suddenly silent. Even the staff who were moving the microphone stopped in their tracks. Hou Minghao's gaze was not aggressive, but the gaze of someone who was quite sure of his feelings or thoughts. The gaze of someone who wanted to be seen, understood, or perhaps challenged back. Lu Yuxiao looked back at him, not with fear, but with a hint of surprise mixed with interest. There was a small sparkle in his eyes, as if he was reading something Minghao was trying to convey. The gaze seemed to open a window into both their hearts. No words were spoken, but it was as if a long conversation was taking place through that gaze alone. And anyone who witnessed it knew that whatever happened in that second was not part of the script. After an intense moment of silence, Minghao slowly smiled. A small, subtle, but meaningful smile. It was a smile that seemed to say that he was not afraid of what he was feeling or what others might think. It was a smile that showed a courage rarely seen from him. He was usually cheerful, playful, or relaxed on set, but this time he looked so honest, so brave in showing his intensity. Lu Yuxiao looked a little flustered, though she tried to hide it with a professional smile. But anyone who paid close attention would notice that her cheeks were slightly red, and her voice sounded softer than usual when she finally said, "Oh, you're here." It was only 4 words, but her tone carried a tremor that could only appear when someone was not fully prepared to face another person's intensity. The director sitting at the end of the room fell silent. He had worked with many big actors and seen many different types of interactions, but rarely had he seen such a natural moment, a moment that could not be planned or engineered. At that moment, he even made a small joke. "It seems like your chemistry was already very strong even before filming." The crew chuckled, But their laughter couldn't hide the fact that they all felt something different about the interaction between the two actors. When the reading began, the energy between them became even more palpable. Every line they spoke sounded more alive, more profound, more fluid. Even some of the improvisational techniques they used seemed so natural, as if they weren't acting, but talking as themselves. Every glance they exchanged created a sweet tension that made the staff recording behind the scenes hold their breath repeatedly so their voices wouldn't be recorded. Several times, while they were cutting the script, those secret glances reappeared, brief, but very clear. A glance that only the two people involved could understand. A glance that couldn't be hidden even when the camera accidentally pointed at them. Even during breaks, when they sat not too far apart, there were small movements that showed their closeness, smiles that appeared for no reason, hands that almost touched, or quiet glances when one wasn't paying attention. Ever since that BTS video leaked on social media, fans have been going crazy. They replayed the scene over and over, analyzing Minghao's body language, Yuxiao's subtle expressions, and the intensity between them. Some fans even created slow-motion video clips to make the gaze feel more dramatic, while others came up with lengthy theories about, is this the beginning of something? Or were they already close even before this project started? To some, the moment may have looked like a professional interaction between actors. But for those who are sensitive, who are used to seeing every detail of celebrity relationships, it was clear that there was something deeper, something that couldn't be hidden even though both of them tried to remain professional. Especially Hou Minghao's courage that day. The courage to openly show his feelings, the courage to approach someone who made him feel different, and the courage to let his gaze convey what he couldn't say. That moment was the beginning of many interactions that later went viral. Fans began to notice how Minghao seemed more attentive whenever he was near Yuxiao, how he helped carry her script, how he waited for Yuxiao to finish speaking before entering another room, or how he laughed more sincerely every time he heard her little jokes. On the other hand, Yuxiao seemed to grow more comfortable with his presence, smiling more softly, looking at him more often when speaking, and showing more small gestures that indicated emotional closeness. Their relationship may never have been clearly confirmed. There were no official statements, no direct acknowledgements. But sometimes, feelings don't need to be announced with words when a glance is enough to speak volumes. That secret gaze, the gaze that bore witness to Hou Minghao's courage, is still talked about to this day. Not because of drama or gossip, but because of the authenticity of that moment. A moment that reminds us that behind the world of entertainment, full of scenarios and image building, genuine feelings can still emerge unexpectedly. And in the end, whatever they felt at that moment, whatever happened afterward, that moment became part of a story that fans will never forget. A story about courage, a secret glance, and the magical energy that emerges when two people meet at the same point, even if only for a few seconds.